Part 5. What Makes Us Human. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, Marcus stood on the observation deck of the Guardian flagship Harmony. Through the massive windows, he could see the most beautiful sight in the galaxy. Thousands of ships from hundreds of different species, all flying together as one fleet. The Galactic Liberation Front had grown beyond anything he had imagined. What started with him helping a freezing stranger in a tent had become the largest freedom movement in galactic history. "Commander Chen," came a voice behind him. Marcus turned to see Admiral Kethvar, a former hegemony officer who had defected, with his entire fleet 3 months ago. The tall, insect-like alien had become one of Marcus's most trusted advisors. "Just Marcus," he said with a smile. "We've talked about this." "Of course." Marcus. Kethvar still seemed uncomfortable with human informality. "The final battle preparations are complete. All Liberation fleets are in position." Marcus nodded. Today was the day they would attack the hegemony capital world of Dominion Prime. After months of freeing enslaved worlds and gathering allies, they finally had enough strength to strike at the heart of the Empire. "Are you ready for this?" asked Zara, joining them at the window. She now wore the uniform of the Liberation Front, her 4 arms easily handling the complex communication equipment that coordinated their multi-species alliance. "I keep thinking about something," Marcus said quietly. 6 months ago, I was just a guy looking for minerals on a frozen moon. Now I'm leading a war against half the galaxy. How did that happen?" "You know how," Zara said softly. "You saw someone who needed help, and you helped. Everything else followed from that choice." Through his neural link with the Guardian network, Marcus could sense the massive hegemony defensive fleet around Dominion Prime. 5,000 warships, plus orbital defense platforms and planetary shields. It was the strongest military force the galaxy had ever seen. But the Liberation fleet was bigger. And more importantly, it was fighting for something the hegemony had forgotten: the idea that all beings deserved to be free. "Incoming transmission from Hegemony High Command," announced the ship's AI. "They're requesting to negotiate." "Put them through," Marcus said. The holographic image of Supreme Chancellor Vex Thul appeared in front of them. The hegemony leader was a massive creature with gray skin and cold, calculating eyes. He had ruled the Empire for over 200 years. "So," Vex Thul said in a voice like grinding stone, "you are the human who thinks he can destroy an empire that has lasted for millennia." "I'm the human who already has destroyed it," Marcus replied calmly. "Your empire exists because people were afraid to fight back. We showed them they don't have to be afraid anymore." "Idealistic nonsense," Vex Thul sneered. "Do you know why empires like mine always win, human? Because we understand that the universe is about power, not friendship. The strong take what they want. The weak serve or die." "You're wrong," Marcus said. "You win because you've convinced everyone that resistance is hopeless. But hope is like a virus, Chancellor. Once it starts spreading, it's impossible to stop." "Hope?" Vex Thul laughed. "Look at your precious alliance. How long do you think it will last once this war is over? These species have been enemies for centuries. Without a common threat to fight, they'll turn on each other." Marcus looked around at his multi-species bridge crew, at Admiral Kethvar, who had given up everything to fight for freedom, at Zara, who had risked her life to save Earth, at the dozens of other beings who had become his friends and allies. "You still don't get it," Marcus said. "This isn't about species or empires or power. This is about something you've never understood." "And what is that?" "Family." Marcus gestured to the Liberation fleet visible through the windows. "Every being in that fleet has someone they're fighting to protect. Parents, children, friends, entire worlds full of people they care about. You can't defeat that with fear or threats or superior firepower." "We shall see," Vex Thul said. I offer you one final chance, human. Surrender now, and I will allow your species to serve as administrators in my empire. Refuse, and Earth will be reduced to ash. Counteroffer, Marcus said. You surrender now, and we'll let you and your supporters leave the galaxy peacefully. Keep fighting, and we'll do what humans always do when bullies threaten our family. Which is? Marcus smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. We end the bullying. Permanently. The transmission cut off. Around Dominion Prime, the hegemony fleet began moving into attack formations. All ships, this is Marcus, he said over the fleet-wide communication system. Today we finish what we started 6 months ago, not for conquest, not for revenge, but for the simple idea that everyone deserves to choose their own destiny. The Liberation Fleet moved forward. Guardian ships led the charge, their ancient weapons cutting through space like silver lightning. Behind them came the volunteer fleets, former slaves, resistance fighters, and species that had been oppressed. For generations, the battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Hegemony forces fought with the discipline of centuries of conquest, but the Liberation forces fought with something more powerful. The knowledge that they were fighting for their families, their homes, their freedom. Marcus coordinated the battle through his neural link with the Guardian network. But he wasn't alone in the link anymore. Thousands of other minds from dozens of species shared the mental burden, each contributing their unique perspectives and abilities. Hegemony line-breaking in Sector 7, reported a Veltai navigator. Guardian Wing 3 requesting support, added a human pilot. Refugee medical ships moving to assist casualties, said a former slave who now commanded a rescue fleet. It was chaos, but it was organized chaos. The kind of impossible coordination that only happened when very different. People worked together toward a common goal. The battle raged for hours. Ships fell on both sides, but slowly, inevitably, the Liberation forces pushed through the hegemony defenses. Planetary shields failing, Vigil announced. Dominion Prime is vulnerable. All Liberation forces hold your fire, Marcus ordered. We're not here to destroy worlds, we're here to free them. Instead of bombardment, Marcus sent Guardian peacekeeping forces to the planet's surface. Their mission wasn't conquest, it was liberation. Free the enslaved populations, arrest war criminals, and establish a new government based on voluntary participation rather than fear. Supreme Chancellor Vexathul's final transmission came from a bunker deep under the capital city. You have won this battle, human, he said bitterly. But empires like mine always return. In 50 years, 100 years, someone will rebuild what you have torn down. Maybe, Marcus admitted. But here's the thing about humans, Chancellor. We have long memories, and we're really good at teaching our children to recognize bullies. He looked directly at the hologram. Your empire is finished. Not just defeated, finished. Because we're not going to rule in your place. We're going to do something much worse from your perspective. What? We're going to teach every species in the galaxy that they don't need rulers at all, that they can govern themselves, make their own choices, protect their own families. Vexthul's image flickered and disappeared. Minutes later, hegemony forces across the galaxy began surrendering. 3 days later, Marcus stood in the same observation lounge where the war had ended. But now, instead of a battle fleet, he was looking at something even more remarkable, a peaceful gathering of representatives from over 300 species, all working together to establish a new galactic government, based on cooperation rather than domination. So what happens now? Zara asked, joining him at the window. Now we go home, Marcus said. Back to that frozen moon where this all started. Why? Because I still have a geological survey to finish, Marcus said with a grin. And because someone needs to build a monument there. A monument to what? Marcus thought about it for a moment. To the idea that sometimes the biggest changes in the universe start with the smallest acts of kindness. Zara laughed, a sound like wind chimes. The precursors would be proud, you know. They built the Guardian network to protect developing civilizations. But they could never have imagined it would be activated by someone who just wanted to help a freezing stranger. That's the thing about humans, Marcus said, watching ships from dozens of worlds working together in perfect harmony. We don't do the smart thing or the logical thing or the profitable thing. What do you do? Marcus smiled, remembering a cold night 6 months ago when he had made a choice that changed the galaxy forever. We do the right thing. Even when it's dangerous, even when it's stupid, even when everyone tells us it's impossible. He looked out at the stars, each one representing worlds that were now free to choose their own destinies. Especially then. Outside the window, the first ships of the new Galactic Cooperative began their journeys home, carrying the most powerful force in the universe. The knowledge that someone, somewhere, would always be willing to help a stranger in need. And in a small tent on a frozen moon, the heater that had once warmed two unlikely friends continued to burn, a tiny flame that had ignited the freedom of an entire galaxy. Part 4. The Price of Betrayal. Marcus sat in the control chair of the precursor facility, still feeling the echo of the neural link in his mind. 3 days had passed since they defeated the Hunters. Through Vigil's systems, he had been learning how to access Guardian networks across the galaxy. It wasn't easy. Each time he connected to the neural interface, his head felt like it was splitting apart. But humans were stubborn, and Marcus was more stubborn than most. "Status report," he said to Vigil. "Hegemony invasion fleet will reach Earth orbit in 18 hours, the AI responded. "However, I have troubling news about the intelligent Zara provided." Marcus looked up from the star charts he was studying. What kind of troubling news? Zara, who had been working on captured hegemony equipment, stopped what she was doing. Her golden eyes looked worried. Analysis of the Hunter's data. "Cores reveals information about Zara's escape," Vigil continued. Her departure from hegemony space was facilitated. "What does that mean?" Marcus asked. "It means they let me go," Zara said quietly. "I wasn't as clever as I thought." Marcus turned to look at her. "Explain." Zara sat down heavily, her 4 arms wrapped around herself. "The Hegemony Intelligence Division is very smart, Marcus. They've been studying Earth for months, trying to understand human psychology. They learned that humans have a weakness." "What weakness?" "You help people who need help, even when it's dangerous, even when it's stupid." Zara's voice was full of shame. "So they created a situation where a human would find me and try to rescue me." Marcus felt cold. "You're saying your escape was fake?" "Not fake, real. I really did steal the files about Earth's location. I really do want to stop the invasion. But the hegemony knew I would head for this system because it's isolated and has good hiding places. And they knew that if a human found you, he would help," Marcus said, understanding. "Yes, they were counting on human compassion to lead them to precursor technology. They've been searching for Guardian facilities for centuries." Marcus stared at her. "So everything that happened, me finding you, bringing you inside, fighting the Hunters, it was all planned?" "The rescue was real," Zara said desperately. "Your kindness was real. Your choice to help me was real. But yes, they used human nature against you." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he started laughing. "Marcus?" Zara looked confused. "Why are you laughing?" "Because," Marcus said, wiping tears from his eyes, "the hegemony just made the biggest mistake in galactic history." "How?" "They think they used human nature against me. But what they actually did was give me exactly what I needed to destroy them." Marcus stood up and walked to the neural interface crown. "Vigil, how many Guardian facilities have I successfully activated so far?" 217 across 12 systems. However, The neural strain is approaching dangerous levels. I recommend resting before attempting further connections." "No time for rest," Marcus said, picking up the crown. "The invasion fleet reaches Earth in 18 hours. How many more facilities do I need to activate to stop them?" "Unknown. But, Marcus, if you continue pushing yourself at this rate, the neural link could cause permanent brain damage or death." Zara jumped up. "No! Marcus, you've done enough! We can find another way!" "What other way?" Marcus asked. "Earth has no space military, no shields, no weapons that can hurt hegemony warships. The only thing that can save my world is Guardian. Technology? But if you die, what good does that do?" Marcus looked at her seriously. "Zara, let me tell you something about humans that the hegemony intelligence files probably missed. When someone threatens our family, we don't calculate survival odds. We don't worry about personal cost. We just make sure the threat doesn't succeed." He placed the crown on his head before she could stop him. The pain hit him like a lightning strike. But Marcus pushed through it. Through the neural link, he reached out across the galaxy, searching for dormant Guardian facilities. He found hundreds of them. Thousands. On dead worlds, hidden in asteroid fields, buried under the surfaces of moons. Each one was a sleeping giant, waiting for the right command to wake up. "Come on," Marcus whispered through gritted teeth. Wake up and fight." One by one, the facilities responded to his call. Guardian constructs that had been dormant for millions of years began to stir. Ancient weapon systems came online. Precursor technology that the hegemony had been searching for was suddenly active across half the galaxy. But the strain was enormous. Marcus felt blood running from his nose. His vision was blurring. "Neural cascade failure imminent," Vigil warned. "Recommend immediate disconnection." "Not yet," Marcus gasped. "Need more. Need enough to save Earth." That was when something unexpected happened. Through the neural link, Marcus suddenly felt other minds connecting to the network. Not human minds, alien minds. "Who's there?" He thought. "Freedom fighters from the Altair resistance," came the first response. "Escaped slaves from the mining colonies," said another. "Refugees from conquered worlds," added a third. More and more minds joined the link, beings from dozens of species across the galaxy who had been fighting the hegemony in secret. They had somehow detected the Guardian network activation and were offering to help. "How are you connecting to precursor technology?" Marcus asked them. "Through the link. We can't control it like you can," responded an alien mind that felt ancient and wise. "But we can share the mental burden. We can help you carry the strain." "Why would you help humans?" Marcus wondered. "Because," said another voice, "you're the first species in centuries to actually fight back. Instead of making deals with the hegemony, you're showing the galaxy that resistance is possible." With the help of the other minds, Marcus was able to activate Guardian facilities faster and with less strain. Within hours, over 2,000 Guardian networks were online and ready for battle. "Impressive," Vigil said. "The hegemony invasion fleet is now outnumbered 3-1. But Marcus wasn't done. Through the shared mental link, he was learning about the true scope of hegemony oppression. Entire species enslaved, worlds stripped of resources, civilizations destroyed for profit. "This isn't just about saving Earth anymore," he said to the other minds in the network. "This is about ending the hegemony forever." "Agreed," responded the ancient feeling voice. "We have been waiting for this moment for centuries." Marcus removed the neural crown, swaying from exhaustion but grinning widely. Zara caught him before he could fall. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I just woke up the galaxy's biggest alarm clock," Marcus said. "Vigil, status of the Guardian network? 2,347 facilities active. Guardian, constructs en route to intercept hegemony invasion fleet. Additional forces moving to attack hegemony strongholds across 17 sectors. Zara stared at him. "Marcus, What have you done? I've started a revolution, Marcus said simply. The hegemony thought they could use human compassion as a weakness. Instead, they gave compassion teeth. On the chamber's main display, they watched as Guardian ships began emerging from hidden bases across the galaxy. Some were sleek fighters, others were massive battleships that dwarfed anything the hegemony had built. But the most beautiful sight was the smaller ships joining them. Resistance. Fighters, freed slaves, and volunteer crews from dozens of species, all flying alongside the ancient Guardians. The invasion fleet has detected our forces, Vigil reported. They are requesting immediate reinforcements from Hegemony High Command. Let them, Marcus said. They're about to learn what happens when you mess with someone's family. Zara looked at him with something that might have been awe. You realize that by doing this, you've declared war on half the galaxy? No, Marcus corrected her. I've declared war on the bullies who have been terrorizing the galaxy. There's a difference. On the display, the first Guardian ships reached Earth's solar system. The Hegemony invasion fleet was massive. 1,200 warships arranged in perfect military formations. But the Guardian force was bigger. And it was angry. Beginning engagement, reported the lead Guardian commander directly into Marcus's mind. For Earth, for freedom, for the young inheritor who awakened us. The battle began. Marcus watched from his command chair as Guardian ships tore through hegemony formations like they were made of paper. Precursor weapons that had been built to fight cosmic-level threats made short work of conventional warships. But more importantly, he watched as ships from liberated worlds joined the fight. The galaxy was waking up. Species that had been too afraid to resist were suddenly finding their courage. Marcus, Zara said softly, I need to tell you something. What? I lied about one thing. I wasn't just a data analyst for Hegemony Intelligence. Marcus looked at her. What were you really? A deep cover agent, working for the Resistance. We've been trying to find precursor technology for decades, hoping it could turn the tide of the war. So your capture really was planned? Yes, but not by the Hegemony. Zara smiled. By us. We needed to find a human who could interface with Guardian technology, someone with the right combination of compassion and stubbornness. Marcus stared at her for a moment, then started laughing again. So everyone was using human psychology against me? In a way. But Marcus, what we counted on wasn't weakness. It was strength. The strength to help a stranger, the strength to fight impossible odds, the strength to unite others in a common cause. Part 3. Awakening. The Guardians. Marcus stared at the glowing precursor control panels. The ancient symbols were pulsing with soft blue light, and the air around them hummed with energy. Behind them, the sound of hunter boots echoed through the ice caves, getting closer every second. How do I work this thing? Marcus asked, running his hands over the smooth alien surfaces. You don't, Zara said urgently. Precursor technology is beyond anything we understand. Even the Hegemony's best scientists can't figure out their systems. Well, I'm not a scientist, Marcus said. Maybe that's the point. The control panels responded to his touch. When Marcus pressed his palm against a large circular symbol, the entire chamber filled with light. Holographic displays appeared in the air around them, showing star maps and data streams in languages neither of them could read. Then a voice spoke. It was calm and deep, speaking perfect English. Welcome, inheritor. I am Vigil, guardian of this facility. I have been waiting for you. Marcus jumped back from the controls. It's talking to me. Impossible, Zara whispered. Precursor AIs went dormant millions of years ago. The holographic displays changed, showing an image of a tall, graceful being with silver skin and large, kind eyes. This was what the precursors had looked like. I remained dormant until a compatible consciousness activated this facility, Vigil said. You, Marcus Chen of Earth, possess the neural patterns we have been seeking. What neural patterns? Marcus asked, confused. Unaugmented. Biological intuition. The ability to make connections without technological assistance. Most advanced species lose this capability as they become more dependent on machines. Humans have retained it. Behind them, the sounds of the hunters were getting much closer. Zara pulled on Marcus's arm. "We have to hide," she said, but Vigil's attention turned to the approaching soldiers. Hegemony forces detected, initiating defensive protocols. Suddenly, the cave entrance they had come through sealed itself with a wall of energy. The hunters' voices became muffled, then angry, then desperate as they realized they were trapped. "Outside. That won't hold them for long," Vigil said. "Hegemony cutting tools are quite advanced. You have perhaps 20 minutes. 20 minutes for what?" Marcus asked. New holographic displays appeared, showing technical diagrams that made Marcus's head hurt just looking at them. "To decide the fate of your species," Vigil said simply. "The Hegemony invasion fleet targeting Earth launched 3 days ago. They will arrive in 4 days. Marcus felt like he had been punched in the stomach. 4 days? Can we stop them?" "We can try. This facility contains 3 Guardian constructs. Autonomous defense units built to protect developing civilizations. But activating them requires a neural link with the facility's core systems." "What kind of neural link?" Zara asked suspiciously. "Complete mental interface with precursor technology. The process is dangerous for most species. Previous attempts resulted in neural collapse and death." Marcus looked at the swirling energy patterns around the control room. "But you think humans might be different? Your species shows remarkable adaptability. You survive in environments that would kill others. You solve problems in ways that seem illogical but prove effective. You form emotional bonds with beings completely unlike yourselves." Vigil paused. "You are sitting here now because you chose to help a stranger in a blizzard." The sound of cutting tools reached them through the energy barrier. The hunters were working hard to break through. "If I do this neural link thing," Marcus said, "what exactly would happen?" "You would gain temporary control of Guardian combat systems. 3 battle constructs would activate and defend this system against the Hegemony hunters, but the real question is whether you can survive the mental strain." Zara grabbed Marcus's arm with 2 of her hands. "Don't do it," she said desperately. "The risk is too high. We can find another way." "What other way?" Marcus asked. "Earth gets invaded in 4 days. Billions of people will die or become slaves. And it's all because someone sold us out for profit." He looked at the precursor control systems. The idea of connecting his mind to alien technology was terrifying. But the idea of Earth falling to the Hegemony was worse. "How do I do it?" Vigil's holographic form moved closer. "Place your hands on the neural interface crown. Clear your mind of fear and doubt. Trust your instincts, not your logic." A new device rose from the floor. A curved, metal headpiece covered in glowing symbols. It looked like a crown made of liquid starlight. "Marcus, no!" Zara said. "If you die, I'll never forgive myself. This all started because you tried to help me." Marcus looked at her golden eyes, filled with worry for him. "Zara, let me tell you something about humans. We don't calculate odds when people we care about are in danger. We just do what needs to be done." The energy barrier behind them was starting to flicker. The hunters would break through soon. Marcus picked up the neural interface crown. It was warm to the touch and seemed to vibrate with inner energy. "Vigil," he said. "If this kills me, will it at least slow down the Hegemony?" "Unknown. But if it succeeds, it will do much more than that. The Guardian constructs have been dormant for millions of years, but their power has not diminished. They could change the balance of the entire galactic war." Marcus looked at Zara one more time. "If I don't make it, find a way to warn Earth. Tell them that humans don't go down without a fight." He placed the crown on his head. Immediately, pain shot through his skull like lightning. But it wasn't just pain. It was information. Data streams, star charts, weapon specifications, tactical analyses, all flowing into his brain at impossible speed. Marcus screamed. But he didn't let go of the crown. Images flooded his mind. The rise and fall of civilizations. The hegemony's expansion across the galaxy. Worlds conquered, species enslaved, entire cultures wiped out for profit, and always other species standing by and watching it happen because it was good business. The pain got worse. Marcus felt like his brain was being stretched beyond its limits. But underneath the pain was something else. Understanding, connection, power. Fighting neural cascade failure, Vigil reported clinically. Brainwave patterns, holding steady. Remarkable. Through the link, Marcus could suddenly sense the 3 Guardian constructs buried deep in the moon's core. They were massive, powerful, and very angry about being awakened after millions of years of sleep. Hello, Marcus thought to them. My name is Marcus. I could really use your help. The Guardians responded not with words, but with emotions, curiosity, amusement, and something that felt like approval. One of them spoke directly into his mind. You are small and fragile, young inheritor, but your spirit burns bright. We will fight with you. The energy barrier collapsed. The hunters burst into the chamber, weapons ready. They stopped when they saw Marcus wearing the neural crown, his eyes glowing with precursor energy. Target acquired, the lead hunter said in heavily accented English. Surrender now, and your death will be swift. Marcus looked at them calmly. Through the neural link, he could feel the Guardian constructs rising through the moon's crust. They would arrive in moments. You know what the problem with the hegemony is? Marcus said conversationally. Do not speak, the hunter commanded. You are already dead. The problem is, you've gotten used to everyone being afraid of you. You've forgotten what happens when someone fights back. The hunters raised their weapons. That was when the first Guardian broke through the chamber floor. It was 30 feet tall, built like a mixture of a knight and a tank, covered in armor that seemed to be made of living metal. Its eyes glowed with the same energy as Marcus's crown. The hunters opened fire. Their weapons were powerful enough to destroy buildings, but the energy beams just bounced off the Guardian's armor. The Guardian looked down at the hunters like a human might look at, annoying insects. Then it began to fight back. The battle was over in seconds. The hunters' advanced weapons and armor were no match for precursor technology. 2 more Guardians emerged from the walls, and soon all 12 hunters were unconscious on the chamber floor. Targets neutralized, reported the first Guardian in a voice like distant thunder. No casualties among friendlies. Marcus pulled off the neural crown, gasping. The connection broke, but he could still feel an echo of the Guardian's presence in his mind. Status report, he said, surprised to find he was still alive. 3 Hunter-class vessels disabled, Vigil reported. All hegemony forces in this system have been neutralized or captured. The immediate threat is over. Zara ran to Marcus and hugged him with all 4 arms. You did it! You actually survived the neural link. Yeah, Marcus said, feeling dizzy but triumphant. But this is just the beginning. He looked at Vigil's holographic form. You said there was an invasion fleet heading for Earth? Correct. 1,200 hegemony warships plus support vessels. They will arrive in 4 days. Marcus looked at the 3 Guardian constructs standing around the chamber like ancient metal gods. Can 3 Guardians stop 1,200 warships? Unknown, Vigil admitted. The Guardians are powerful, but the numbers are not favorable. Marcus felt the echo of the neural link in his mind. Through it, he sensed something that made his heart race. The 3 Guardians on this moon were not the only ones. Vigil he said slowly. How many Guardian facilities are there in the galaxy? Approximately 40,000. Most have been dormant since the... Part 2. The hunter becomes the hunted. Marcus finished packing his emergency supplies, while Zara watched him with worried golden eyes. The storm outside was dying down, which meant the hunters would land soon. Marcus, Zara said quietly, you don't understand what you're getting into. The hegemony rules half the galaxy. They have weapons that can destroy planets. Marcus shouldered his pack. Then we better not let them catch us. He helped Zara put on some of his extra winter gear. It didn't fit her forearms very well, but it would keep her warm. As they prepared to leave, she started explaining what had brought her to this frozen moon. I used to work for the Hegemony Intelligence Division, Zara said. I was a data analyst. I thought I was helping my people become stronger and safer. What? Changed your mind? Marcus asked as he checked his equipment. I found files I wasn't supposed to see, Zara said. The hegemony doesn't just conquer worlds by force, they're much smarter than that. She paused, looking sad. They find primitive species that haven't developed space travel yet. Then they pay other species to reveal the locations of these worlds. Marcus stopped packing. What do you mean, pay other species? The Galactic Trade Consortium. They're like a big marketplace for information. If someone finds a new species, they can sell the location to the hegemony. The payment is usually mining rights or technology. Marcus felt sick. So, other aliens sell out primitive worlds for profit? Yes, Zara said softly. Most species see it as good business. The primitive worlds get conquered anyway, they think. Why not make money from it? That's horrible, Marcus said. It gets worse, Zara continued. In the files, I found a recent purchase. The hegemony bought location data for a world called Earth. They're planning to invade in 1 week. Marcus dropped his pack. Earth? My Earth? Yes. Someone sold your world's location for 20 million credits and exclusive trading rights to your solar system's asteroids. Anger filled Marcus's chest. His homeworld, his family. Everyone he had ever known was about to be enslaved or killed, and someone had sold them out for money. Who? He asked. Who sold us out? Before Zara could answer, they heard a loud sound. From outside. Ships landing. The hunters had arrived. Marcus grabbed Zara's hand and led her to the back of the tent. He quietly cut open the rear wall with his knife. We go out the back, he whispered. Stay low and follow me. They crawled out into the snow. The storm was almost over, but there was still enough wind to cover the sound of their movement. Marcus could see 3 ships about 100 meters away. They were sleek and black, designed for hunting. Soldiers were coming out of the ships. They wore dark armor and carried weapons that glowed with energy. Marcus counted at least 12 of them. They have heat sensors, Zara whispered. They'll track our body heat through the snow. Marcus thought quickly. He remembered something from his geological training. Not if we go where they can't follow. He led Zara away from the ships, toward a series of deep cracks in the moon's ice surface. These were crevasses that his surveys had marked as unstable and dangerous. Behind them, they heard voices speaking in the alien language. The hunters had found Marcus's tent. They'll know you helped me, Zara said as they moved through the snow. Good, Marcus said grimly. Let them know that humans don't abandon their friends. They reached the first crevasse. It was a deep crack in the ice, maybe 10 feet wide. Marcus could see that it went down very far, disappearing into darkness. We have to jump across, he said. That's too far, Zara protested. If we fall, then we fall together, Marcus said. But we don't give up. They heard shouts behind them. The hunters had found their tracks in the snow. Marcus took Zara's hands, all 4 of them. On 3, 1, 2, 3, they jumped together. For a moment, they were flying through the cold air over the dark crevasse. Then they landed hard on the other side, rolling in the snow. Are you okay? Marcus asked. Zara nodded, though she looked scared. The hunters won't follow us across. Their armor is too heavy. But Marcus was wrong. As they looked back, they saw the hunters setting up some kind of bridge device. These soldiers were prepared for anything. "We keep moving," Marcus said. They ran deeper into the maze of crevasses. Marcus used his geological knowledge to pick paths that looked stable enough to cross but too dangerous for heavily armored soldiers. For an hour, they played a deadly game of cat and mouse. The hunters were professional and persistent. Every time Marcus thought they had lost them, the soldiers found another way around. Finally, they reached a place where the crevasses ended at the edge of a cliff. Below them was a deep valley filled with ice caves. "We go down," Marcus said. "Down there?" Zara looked at the cliff. "That's at least 100-foot drop." "I have climbing gear," Marcus said, pulling rope from his pack. "I can get us down safely." As he set up the rappelling equipment, Zara told him more about what she had learned. "The files showed that Earth isn't the hegemony's final target," she said. "They want to use your solar system as a base to attack the inner rim worlds. Earth is just the beginning." "Why Earth?" Marcus asked as he secured the rope. "Because humans are perfect slaves," Zara said sadly. "You're smart enough to be useful, but your technology is too primitive to fight back. And according to hegemony research, humans are very obedient when their families are threatened." Marcus paused in his work. "They don't know humans very well." "Do they?" "What do you mean?" "Humans aren't obedient when our families are threatened," Marcus said with a dangerous smile. "We're the exact opposite. We become very, very angry." They heard voices getting closer. The hunters had found another way around the crevasses. "Time to go," Marcus said. He helped Zara put on a climbing harness. Then they rappelled down the cliff face into the valley below. It was scary, but Marcus had done this kind of thing before, in his geological work. They landed in soft snow between two large ice caves. Marcus coiled up the rope, knowing the hunters would have to find another way down. "Which way?" he asked. Zara pointed to the larger cave. "My scanner is picking up artificial structures deeper inside, maybe old mining equipment." They entered the ice cave. Marcus turned on his flashlight, and the beam revealed smooth walls covered in strange patterns. But these patterns didn't look natural. "Marcus," Zara said in a strange voice, "I don't think these are mining caves." They walked deeper, into the cave system. The patterns on the walls became more complex. They looked almost like writing or maps. Then they turned a corner and both of them stopped walking. Ahead of them was a massive chamber carved out of the ice. But it hadn't been carved by human or Veltai tools. The walls were perfectly smooth and covered in symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. In the center of the chamber was a structure that looked like a control room. It had screens and panels, but the design was completely alien. Not human, not like Zara's technology, but something else entirely. "What is this place?" Marcus whispered. Zara was staring at the symbols on the walls. Her golden eyes were wide with fear and wonder. "These symbols," she said slowly. "I've seen them before, in the most classified files in the hegemony database. What do they mean?" "They're precursor markings," Zara said. "This is a precursor facility." "What are precursors?" "An ancient race that disappeared millions of years ago. They were the most advanced civilization the galaxy has ever known. Legend says they built guardians to protect the galaxy from great evil." Marcus walked closer to the control room structure. As he approached, some of the panels began to glow, brighter. "I think it's reacting to me," he said. "That's impossible," Zara said. "Precursor technology only responds to—" She stopped talking. "To what?" "To the inheritors, the species they chose to carry on their mission." Zara looked at Marcus with new understanding. "Marcus, what if the reason the hegemony fears humans isn't because you're good slaves?" "What do you mean?" What if they fear humans because you're the inheritors the precursors were waiting for? Before Marcus could answer, they heard sounds echoing through the cave system. The hunters had found a way down the cliff and were following their trail. But something else was happening too. The precursor facility was waking up. More lights were turning on. The air began to hum with energy. Marcus looked at the alien control panels, then at Zara, then back at the approaching sounds of the hunters. "Well," he said, "I guess we're about to find out what happens when humans meet precursor technology." Behind them, the sound of hunter boots on ice was getting closer. Ahead of them, ancient alien technology was coming to life. And Marcus Chen, a simple geological surveyor who had just wanted to help a freezing stranger, was about to discover that some acts of kindness can change the fate of the entire galaxy. Part 1. The Frozen Stranger. Marcus Chen pulled his thick jacket tighter as the wind howled outside his tent. The storm on Kepler 442c had been going for 3 days now. Ice crystals hit the tent walls like tiny bullets. He looked at his watch. There's still 6 hours until the storm was supposed to end. He was alone on this frozen moon, doing his job as a geological surveyor. His company had sent him here to look for rare minerals. The pay was good, but being alone in this cold place was hard. Sometimes he talked to himself just to hear a human voice. Marcus was checking his equipment when something strange happened. His scanner started beeping loudly. The screen showed energy readings he had never seen before. The signal was coming from somewhere outside, in the storm. "That's weird," he said to himself. "There shouldn't be anything out there." He looked at the readings again. The energy signature was definitely not natural. It looked like technology, but not human technology. Marcus felt his heart beat faster. Was there someone else on this moon? The smart thing to do was wait. The storm was too dangerous to go outside, but the signal was getting weaker. If someone was out there, they might be in trouble. Marcus made his decision. He put on his heaviest winter gear, grabbed his emergency kit, and stepped out into the storm. The cold hit him like a wall. Even with his best gear, the temperature was dangerous. His breath froze in the air. The wind was so strong he could barely walk straight. But he followed his scanner toward the strange signal. After walking for 20 minutes, fighting through the snow and wind, he saw something that made him stop. There, half buried in a snowdrift, was a small craft. It looked like an escape pod, but the design was nothing like human ships. The metal was smooth and curved in ways that seemed impossible. The pod was cracked open on one side. Steam was coming from the crack, or maybe it was just his breath in the cold air. Marcus moved closer, his scanner beeping faster. "Hello?" He called out. "Is anyone in there?" No answer, just the sound of wind and ice. Marcus looked inside the pod through the crack. What he saw made him gasp. There was a person inside, but not a human person. She was small, maybe 5 feet tall. Her skin was pale blue, like ice. She had 4 arms instead of 2. Her hair was white and seemed to move on its own, like it was floating in water. She was wearing some kind of suit, but it was torn and sparking with broken electronics. She was not moving. Marcus checked his scanner. Her body temperature was dropping fast, too fast. She was freezing to death. He didn't think about it. He didn't wonder what she was or where she came from. He just saw someone who needed help. Marcus pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her. She was so cold her skin felt like touching ice. He picked her up carefully. She was lighter than he expected, but her 4 arms made it awkward to carry her. The walk back to his tent was the longest 20 minutes of his life. The storm was getting worse. Several times he almost fell. The alien girl didn't move at all. He started to worry he was too late. Finally, he saw the orange glow of his tent through the snow. He pushed inside and immediately turned up the heater as high as it would go. Marcus laid the alien girl on his sleeping bag. Her lips were dark blue. Her breathing was very slow and weak. He had basic medical training, but he had never treated an alien before. He didn't even know if she breathed the same air as humans. Okay, think, he told himself. She's cold-blooded. That's why she's freezing so fast. Marcus grabbed all his extra blankets and covered her. He put chemical heat packs around her body. Then he did something that felt strange but necessary. He lay down next to her under the blankets, sharing his body heat. Slowly, over the next hour, her skin began to feel less like ice. Her breathing got a little stronger. Marcus stayed close to her, monitoring her temperature with a medical thermometer from his first aid kit. As he waited, he looked at her more closely. Her face was surprisingly human-like, except for her pale blue skin and the small ridges above her eyebrows. Her forearms each had 3 fingers instead of 5. The torn suit she wore was made of materials he didn't recognize. After 2 hours, she opened her eyes. They were large and golden, like a cat's eyes. She looked around in confusion, then focused on Marcus. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then she tried to sit up quickly. Too quickly. She fell back down, weak from the cold. "Hey, take it easy," Marcus said gently. "You're safe now. You were freezing outside." She looked at him with those strange golden eyes. When she spoke, her voice was soft and musical, but the words were in a language he didn't understand. Marcus pointed to himself. "Marcus," he said slowly. "My name is Marcus." She seemed to understand. She pointed to herself with one of her 4 hands. "Zara," she said. Her accent was strange, but she was speaking English now. "Zara," Marcus repeated. "Are you okay? Can you tell me what happened?" Zara looked around the tent, taking in the human equipment and supplies. She seemed surprised by everything she saw. "You helped me," she said slowly, like she couldn't believe it. "You brought me inside. You shared your warmth." "Of course I did," Marcus said. "You were dying out there." "But you don't know me," Zara said. "You don't know what I am." Marcus shrugged. "You needed help. That's all I needed to know." Zara stared at him for a long moment. She looked confused, like his answer didn't make sense to her. "Where I come from," she said quietly, "strangers do not help strangers, especially strangers who are different." "Well, you're not where you come from anymore," Marcus said with a small smile. "You're with humans now, and humans help people who need help." Marcus gave her some hot soup from his supplies. Her hands shook as she held the cup, but she drank it gratefully. As she warmed up, color returned to her blue skin. "Thank you," she said after finishing the soup. "I am in your debt, Marcus of the humans." "You don't owe me anything," Marcus said. "But I am curious. What were you doing out there? And what kind of ship was that?" Zara's face became serious. She looked toward the tent entrance like she was listening for something in the storm. "That was an escape pod," she said. "I was running away." "From what?" "From the hegemony. From my own people. From everyone who wants to use me or kill me." Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. "What did you do?" "I learned something I was not supposed to know," Zara said. "Something about your world, about Earth." Before Marcus could ask what she meant, his communication equipment started beeping. Someone was trying to contact him, but that was impossible. No one was supposed to know he was here. Marcus looked at the incoming signal display. 3 ships had just entered the moon's orbit. They were broadcasting a message in the same language Zara had been speaking. Zara heard the broadcast and went very pale. Her 4 hands started shaking. "They found me," she whispered. "The hunters. They followed my pod's trail." "Who are hunters?" Marcus asked. "Hegemony soldiers. They capture escaped prisoners and bring them back for punishment." Zara looked at Marcus with fear in her golden eyes. "Marcus, you have to understand. If they find me here with you, they will kill you too, just for helping me." Marcus looked at his communication equipment. The 3 ships were getting closer. In a few hours, they would land and start searching for Zara. He looked at the alien girl who had changed his quiet mission into something dangerous. The smart thing would be to turn her over to these hunters, save himself. But Marcus Chen had never been the kind of person to abandon someone who needed help. "Then we better make sure they don't find you," he said. Zara stared at him. "You would? Risk your life for someone you just met? Someone who is not even your species?" Marcus started packing his survival gear. "Zara, let me tell you something about humans. We're really stupid sometimes. We help people even when it's dangerous. We protect strangers even when it costs us everything." He looked at her seriously. "And we never, ever give up on our friends." Outside, the storm was ending. Soon the hunters would come looking, but Marcus Chen was no longer just a geological surveyor on a routine mission. Now he was something much more dangerous to the hegemony's plans. He was a human who had decided to help,